Howdy folks, and welcome to the Hillbilly Kitchen. Today we're going to be making a super easy, tender, juicy, delicious fried pork chop out of a cheap cut of pork loin. This is the perfect dish if you got a big group of people. You can even cook these out on your grill if you want to, or it's a budget-friendly option for a weeknight dinner or even a weekend dinner. You can still get pork loin for $2 a pound, which is way cheaper than any other meat. And if you remember the old commercials, pork the other white meat, it's a fairly healthy option if you're trying to eat better. What we're going to do is we're going to start by just slicing off some pork chops here, or pork chop size slices of our pork loin. And you can tenderize these a little bit if you want to. I find it's not always necessary, but I just like to do it. So I'm going to slice these around an inch thick. And you can have this cut for free at your local grocery store if you don't want to mess with cutting it. And you got a big get together and that would save you a step. They'll cut it for free. All right, I'm not feeding Army today, so I'm just going to do 4 chops. And you can see there I got 4 really thick center cut pork chops for $2 a pound. I'm going to put the rest of this in the fridge and I am going to turn it into pulled pork, and that makes the best barbecue sandwiches you have ever ate in your life. I'll link that recipe up here and you can make that if you're having a big get together. Very easy and very inexpensive. Now, whenever you are using any kind of raw meat, it is a good idea to clean everything up as you go because you don't want to cross-contaminate anything. Okay, I got everything cleaned up, so we're just going to seal this up and we're going to put it in the fridge. It appears that I have lost my meat tenderizer and I pulled it out before I started this video. So I'm going to show you a trick. You don't have to have a meat tenderizer. We're just going to lay a piece of parchment paper on top of our pork chops and we have a piece under them, and then we're going to work out our frustrations on them. We're just going to pound on them to tenderize them. Now, a little tip here, if you use this part of your hand and not your knuckles, it won't make your hand so sore. And you could use a rolling pin or something to pound on them, but because I'm sauteing them, frying them, I want them a little bit thinner than an inch. All right, I ended up using my knuckles a little bit too. And I've got them down to about ½ inch or so, and that's what I want. And now I'm just going to use some simple seasoning for mine. You can season these with anything that you would season beef or chicken with. It's entirely up to you. I got a little bit of garlic powder and onion powder, not salt. These are actually the dried garlic and onions. I'm going to add my salt separate. I don't like to use the onion and garlic salt. And we're going to sprinkle this on here. And we're going to do some salt and some pepper. You can use any kind of rub. I mean, if you've got a spice blend or a rub that you want to use that. You know, just whatever you like. And then I'm going to flip them over. And I'm going to do the other side. I'm not going to put any salt on this side because I don't want them over salted. And you can always add more salt on the table. Lots of folks need low salt diets, and you can leave the salt completely off till the end if you want to. All right, now we could have shortcutted this a little bit because we're going to put these in the fridge to marinate for a little while. And we could have just mixed all of our spices in with what we're marinating them in and poured it over all of it. But I think this way your meat gets a little bit better coated, and you can even rub those spices in with your hands if you want to. I don't generally. I just make sure they're good and coated, and you can see they're good and coated. But I'm going to put it in my bowl here, and then I'm going to mix up my marinade. Pickle juice, if you don't have what we're using, is an excellent marinade for pork or chicken. If you've got some dill pickles in your fridge, you can use that. Buttermilk makes a good marinade. It kind of tenderizes your meat. There's just all kinds of stuff that you can use. But today we're using some lemon juice. I've got about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and I'm going to use about a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, maybe not quite that much. And we're just going to pour that over top of these. We'll give it a little whisk. And then we're going to put them in the refrigerator for at least 30 minutes. And let that soak in there and tenderize everything. And like I said, anything you want to season this with, you can. This is what I'm using. And I'm using the Worcestershire sauce and the lemon juice to marinate it. It'll soak in. And you can do this for 30 minutes or longer. You can even do it overnight. But keep in mind that the meat is really going to absorb the flavor of what you're marinating it in. And if you're using something citrusy like lemon juice, if you marinate it overnight, it's really, really going to get that taste of the lemon in it. And you're going to taste more lemon than you do anything else. So I think 30 minutes to an hour is a good time. I don't usually go over 2 hours if I'm marinating something. But if I'm grilling and I got a whole bunch of people coming over, sometimes I'll do it a couple hours so I can get other stuff done. Just cover this, stick it in the fridge for about 30 minutes. I want to take just a minute and talk to you about Forever Chemicals and clean cookware. Forever Chemicals were in our nonstick pans and in our plastic food storage containers. We consumed them for years without knowing that they stayed in our bodies indefinitely, and they were associated with and caused all sorts of health conditions. Caraway cookware is not your typical cookware. It's an investment. Their cookware is independently certified by a third party to be free from over 200 of these known forever chemicals. The naturally non-stick ceramic coating makes cooking easier, clean up a breeze, and makes everything that you cook at home healthier. If you are considering upgrading to some clean cookware, check out Caraway. I recommend doing the 12-piece cookware set, which comes with everything you see here, the storage containers, which protect your investment, and all of the lids. If you buy the set together, you save 20% over buying them individually, and right now they're on sale, so you save even more. You can use my code Hillbilly Kitchen to save an extra 10% on top of the sale. And if you shop between now and June 22nd for their Father's Day sale and you spend $495, you will get a free butcher box. And if you spend $795, you get the butcher box and Caraway's cast iron grill pan. I also have their 13-piece food storage set, which is microwave, oven, freezer, and dishwasher safe. It's great for all your leftovers, food prep, and packing your lunches. Okay, our pork chops have been in the fridge about 30 minutes, so we want to turn our skillet on, about medium, and get it nice and hot. And then when our skillet gets hot, we're going to add just a little bit of oil to it because we're frying these. I want to give you all some tips for how to take care of your ceramic coated cookware. Because if you have invested, or if you are going to invest in some clean ceramic cookware, you really need to know how to take care of it so it will last as long as possible. The first tip is, I said medium heat. Ceramic cookware is not made to cook on anything above medium heat. Hotter heats can damage it. Anytime you're cooking, if you let your pan get hot and then you add your oil or your butter or whatever you're cooking with, it will be far less likely to stick. And we just need a little oil in here. You also don't ever want to use metal utensils in coated cookware. Use wood or the non-toxic silicone ones. Don't use your old plastic ones. Get rid of those. They've got the stuff in them that we're trying to avoid by using the ceramic. All right. Now, once your oil is good and hot, you can drop your chops in. And I also kind of like to rotate these before I put them in the pan, just so I've got a little bit of that marinade on them. And I've still got plenty of spices on here. Oh yeah, that's what you want to hear when you add meat or vegetables. When you're frying something, you want to hear that sizzle when you drop whatever you're frying into your skillet. Now you can see here, we got a lot of goodness left in this bowl that we marinated these chops in. And that is so loud, I can barely hear myself talking, so I hope y'all can hear me. We're gonna use this goodness and just a couple other things, and we're gonna make a sauce to kind of drizzle over these pork chops when they're done. This is kind of a Diane sauce, and I looked up what makes a Diane sauce. And it's Dijon mustard and cream, basically, and whatever you have left over in your pan. So I'm using what I had left over from my marinade. Oh, and it also has Worcestershire sauce in it, but we got Worcestershire sauce in our marinade. So I'm going to use this along with some Dijon mustard, which I didn't have Dijon mustard, but I've got some spicy brown mustard, and a little cream, heavy cream. If nothing else, the Hillbilly Kitchen is a good place to come find all your substitutes, because I've never got everything I need to make a recipe. And you don't have to have either. Recipes are a guide. And, you know, generally speaking, there's not an ingredient in them that you can't substitute for something else. I've got this minced garlic, so when I do my sauce, I'm going to add a little bit of the garlic in the pan. And I'm going to put in just a little more onion powder just to give it a little more flavor. But anyway, we're going to let these pork chops fry on each side for 3 or 4 minutes. You do want to get them up to at least 140 degrees in the center. You don't want to make anybody sick. A few more care tips for your ceramic coated cookware. You don't want to stack it. That's why these organizers are so nice. They not only look good and you can display them to keep your cabinets neat, but they protect your cookware. If you're not supposed to use metal utensils in it, you don't want to stack it because the bottoms are metal, and if you stack it, the bottom of the pan on top is going to scratch the pan underneath it. So don't stack them. Also, hand wash them. The chemicals and the heat and stuff in the dishwasher, mostly the chemicals, will damage the surface. So hand wash them. Just use regular dishwashing liquid and hand do them. It only takes a second to clean them up because stuff doesn't stick in them. So they wash really quick and really easy, and dry them, and then store them correctly. They'll last so much longer. And when you invest in a good set, you need them to last as long as possible. Okay, it's about time to flip these over. We've got some really nice browning going on here. That lemon juice is kind of what you see around the edge here. It's sort of caramelized on the edges of them. And then we're just going to cook them about 3 or 4 minutes on this side. These pork chops will be a really good Father's Day dinner. And like I said, they're super inexpensive to make. Dads like anything fried. The world today is really lacking in strong men and strong fathers. And if you're a dad or you're about to be a dad, I want to encourage you to lead your family in faith, to seek God and lead your family in that path. But I also want to encourage you to be a strong man. The kind of man that the Bible describes in many places, like in 1 Corinthians 16:13. It says, "Watch ye, stand fast in the faith, quiet you like men, be strong." Be the kind of father who does stand strong in his faith. Be the kind of father who remains calm when things are falling apart or chaotic. And be a strong father. Be a strong force in your children's life. Don't be as the world tells us. Be as God tells us. Be an example of our Father in heaven. And if you are blessed enough to have one of those fathers who was strong, stood fast in his faith, and was always that rock, make sure you honor him this Father's Day. Make sure you celebrate him. Literally nothing is sticking in this pan. These chops are just sliding right around. And this marinade looks like a syrup almost. The lemon juice and the Worcestershire sauce. And the juice from the pork chops, of course, is also in there. Our pork chops have been in here about 3.5 minutes on each side. They are absolutely gorgeous brown. Nothing at all is sticking. And we're going to start our sauce now. And I'm going to start it by putting the garlic in here. Before I even take my chops out, I'll give them just another minute because I do want to cook this garlic a little bit. So if you're using fresh garlic or the jarred garlic, you might want to cook it a tad before you start your sauce. If you're using garlic powder and onion powder and that's all, you don't need to worry about it. Just throw it in there. If you wanted to put these in the oven to keep them warm or maybe even to finish them off, if you wanted to cook them just a little bit longer after you drizzled the sauce on them, these pans have nice, thick, solid handles. You can put them right in the oven. Okay, so now I'm going to get my pork chops out of the way and we're going to do our sauce. Try not to get all your garlic out of the way. Now we want to work a little bit fast because we don't want our pan to burn. I'm going to go ahead and put in my mustard. And onion powder. Go ahead and pour in your drippings from your marinade if that's what you're using, or put in Worcestershire sauce and a little lemon juice if you didn't marinate them or you don't want to use that. But that's perfectly fine. You can use it. All right, and now we're just going to add our cream to this. And I'm only going to do like a 1/4 cup because this is a sauce. It's not necessarily supposed to like drown them like you would do with gravy. We just want the sauce. And that is an absolutely beautiful color. And we're just going to bring this up to a simmer here while we stir it. Kind of watch the color and the consistency. You do want it kind of thick. And you can put this in something and serve it, a little dish, and let people spoon it over the pork chops. Or you can pour it right over the pork chops. It's just up to you how you want to serve it. I'm going to drizzle mine right over top of my pork chops. And a lot of times this will have mushrooms in it. Oh my goodness, that smells so good. I smell that lemon. But this is probably going to end up being mine and Alex's lunch. She can't do mushrooms, so you could throw a few mushrooms in there and saute them. Diane sauce is one of those kind of forgotten things. It was really, really popular in steakhouses in the 1950s. And it was just kind of a way of deglazing the pan. But it made the dishes look really, really fancy, and it added a ton of flavor. And it's also really, really inexpensive. Another tip for your ceramic coated pots and pans, let this cool down. Don't take it straight from the hot stove and stick it in cold water because that will damage the coating. So let it cool down a little bit before you wash it. And that is all there is to making a super easy sauteed, fried for us common folks, glazed pork chop that will make people will think it's fancy. They'll think you spend a lot of time, spend a lot of money, and we just use common stuff that we already had. I mean, I literally used everything that I had. Super easy meal to make. Serve this with some mashed potatoes or some kind of pasta, maybe some green beans or fresh asparagus if you want to get really, really fancy with it. It would make a great dish for a weeknight dinner because it's very budget friendly. It would be good for large gatherings because of the cost, and it would be really good for Father's Day. And don't forget, if you're interested in investing in some healthy, non-stick ceramic coated cookware to check out Caraway. Use my code Hillbilly Kitchen. You'll save 10% site-wide. They're having a huge sale right now for Father's Day, where if you spend $495, you get the butcher box, and if you spend $795, you get the butcher box and their cast iron grill pan. That sale is good through June 22nd of 2026. I had to think what year this was. But I want to thank you so much for being a part of the Hillbilly Kitchen, for being part of our family. I want to wish all the fathers out there a happy Father's Day. And until next time, remember to put God first.